All right. Welcome back to another episode of the House Husband Diaries. As always, I am your host, Carter C. And today we are talking about line 1, stanza 2, TTOTC, the thrill of the chase. Clue number 1, begin it where warm waters halt. And yeah. So what I thought I would do in this video is I will take I will look at 5 different definitions of the word warm because Forrest has asked us to to look up words when he didn't know the meaning of words, and it would be in our best interest to look up. And I think one of the things that Forrest does is he uses words, he uses his imagination, and he kind of stretches the meanings of words. And so it would be good to look at a number of different definitions for words that we think we know the definition of. And so I'll take 5 different definitions of warm, and then I will look at what possible waters would be associated with those definitions of warm. And and then we'll go from there. So this will be clue number 1, begin it where warm waters halt. So the first definition that everybody is familiar with for warm is temperature. And I will say this as an aside, that when I first got into the chase, or I first found out about the chase a few years ago, Cal Lazar's Mike was doing his solo vlogs, and it was like AGK and stuff. They were doing the thought process, at least from that group, was New Mexico fishing regulations. Apparently, that was kind of like the it thing at the time, and I thought, wow, these people are like, they're so much smarter than I am. I never would have thought to look at trout fishing regulations in New Mexico. I'm from North Carolina. Go Jordan, go Heels, and we have the ocean. We have brackish water, and I go fishing a decent amount, and I just was never. It just never crossed my mind to think of trout fishing inland. So temperature at one point was thought of as a trout fishing borders of New Mexico, and then it's really kind of turned, at least through Cal Lazar's and K-Pro, of hot springs, and so that's kind of the type of water that would be associated with temperature. It could be a warm springs, it could be the fishing regulations, but basically the first definition of temperature just seems really massively variable to me. Heat-wise, it just your version of warm versus my version of warm. Like when I think of warm, right, I think of a shower. So I can tell you from personal experience that if you were to get into the shower after my wife has taken a shower, or when I get into the shower after my wife has taken a shower, you turn on the water, and the way our shower works, you set the heat differently than the water pressure. So you just turn on the water pressure, and then once the water is going, you can mess with the heat. So the heat stays the same as the last person that took a shower in our shower. It's not one of those where, just depending on how much you turn it on, depends on how hot it is. The heat's separate from the water pressure. So now that's, we've got that taken care of. You get into the shower after my wife, and it is a wonder that any of your skin survives. Like, it is the hottest, I don't even understand. I don't even know why our water heater is set to a temperature that would get that hot. My wife thinks that is comfortable for whatever reason. If and when my wife gets in the shower after I get out of the shower, she lets me know that she's trying to figure out why I take showers in the Arctic with penguins, and I promise you that I am using warm water. I am not a cold water fan. So temperature just is so variable, not only for individuals, for what you view as warm and what I view as warm, but also seasonally. So if there's a lot of snow melt in the spring, there's going to be a lot more cold water, which means that the hot water from a hot spring is going to meet a lot more cold water sooner. So where the warm water theoretically would be is going to be in a different place than it would be, in the summer or the fall or even the winter. And so to me, that just seems so highly variable. I just don't know that that's what Forrest was getting at in in the poem when he says, "Begin it where warm waters halt." I know we can, at the end we'll talk about halt. We can just go ahead and do it now. I don't know that it matters whether it's a noun or a verb. A halt's the same thing. It either stops or it pauses. It could pool for water. I mean, the definitions are so very similar that I don't know that it really matters. So halt is halt in my opinion. And so that's temperature. Let's see. Did I get everything on my notes? Oh, yes. So the other thing that I've heard from K-Pro and Cal and ever, when I met Christy at the Raleigh meetup in North Carolina a few weeks ago, supposedly she had a conversation with Forrest, and I don't say supposedly like I don't believe her. Like I totally believe her. I'm just saying, I wasn't there, so supposedly. There was this conversation, and he said, "Can you tip your toe in it or dip your toe in it?" I'm just going to say dip. He may have said tip, whatever. Supposedly he said that to Scott Conway, and supposedly he said that to Cynthia Meacham. I think I have those three names, as those are the three people that he said that to. I don't think it means, I think it's more rhetorical. Like, I don't think it means, well, if you didn't dip your toe in it, if you can't dip your toe in it, you're in the wrong place. I think he doesn't want to give out any more clues. And so when he's having conversations with people and he asks them about their solve, and he's just interested in what people are thinking, when he asks them, could they dip their toe in it? I think it's more rhetorical in that he wants to know more of your thought process. He can't give you a clue whether it's warm enough or are you on the right track, because then that would be cheating. So he just says, can you dip your toe in it? And you can either answer, I did dip my toe in it and it's no longer warm, or it is warm, and you go from there with a conversation. Or you could say, as I'll get to later on, I'm using my imagination, and here's what I believe warm waters is. I'll get to that in a second. So I'm not sold on the fact, like Christy and Mike, that can you dip your toe in it is definitely means it's a hot spring. And the reason why, like I said in the first episode, for the ground rules of my search, is that hot springs are just not imaginative. And if we need to use our imagination, I just really don't think a hot spring is the place to start. I could be totally wrong. It just seems easy and cliche. Not easy from, I know there's like 1,000 or like just unbelievable like number of hot springs, so it's not easy from that, but it's not imaginative and it's not fun. There's no thrill in that to me. So that's personal, I'll move on. Agree to disagree. Let's see. So, all right, number two. The second definition of warm that I want to cover in this video is when Forrest said that warm means comfortable to him. So to me, comfortable is calm. It could be warm temperature. And when I think of what could be comfortable waters, I think of something where you would bathe, something that is calm enough where you could get in and not worry about being swept downstream. So like a bathing pool, it's flat, or a fishing hole. A lot of times fish will take a break in a fishing hole and get out of the current, and it's something that's comfortable. It's calm. Um, when I think about all of the fishing, I don't know. I feel like fishing's not imaginative either, and I don't know that fishing has anything to do with where he hid the treasure. And he told people that they would be surprised where the treasure was found, and I just don't know that anybody would be surprised if it was on the Madison, in Yellowstone, Hebgen Lake, anywhere that's mentioned in, like, verbatim mentioned in TTOTC. It's just not surprising. Like I don't think that's part of the thrill of the chase, part of the game that Forrest has put out there for us. So comfortable, calm, warm temperature. Number 3, we'll get to the third definition of warm is angry or irritated, which I associate with turbulent. So as we said, that warm could mean comfortable, which means flat, calm, fishing hole. It can also mean angry, irritated, turbulent, the exact opposite, which is rapids. So where warm waters halt could be, it halts at the calm part. The rapids halt, and now we have calm, which is the fishing hole. Or it could be the fishing hole halts, or the calm part halts at the rapids. I don't think that Forrest wants us to begin our search at rapids. So I don't think angry, irritated, or turbulent waters, I don't think that where smooth waters ends in the beginning of rapids is where we're supposed to be. I don't think we're supposed to. I mean, we could start at the end of rapids, the beginning of calm water, but I don't know. It's a little harder for me to kind of figure out. I mean, I don't know how many rapids there are in the mountains, in the Rocky Mountains. I feel like there's probably more than there are hot springs. So that seems like a highly variable definition as well. The weakest one that I will say is number 4, and that's color. So warm can be associated with color, which is like red or orange, per dictionary.com. And what I will say is the kind of water that is associated with that would be like the Grand Prismatic Spring. Then Yellowstone is blue and like aqua and stuff in the middle, and then as you get to the edge and it flows out, it turns orange and red. The algae that's growing and the different temperatures of water. So I know that happens in other springs around the Rocky Mountains, and then it's somehow the algae and the temperature is red or orange. It's a legitimate definition from dictionary.com. Maybe that's exactly what he's talking about, and I'll kick myself when somebody finds a treasure. I just rule it out. It's not something I'm looking at. And then the 5th and final definition of warm from dictionary.com that I'll look at, and it's my personal favorite right now, and it's just because I don't hear anybody talking about it. I don't see anybody talking about it on the message boards, and it's either because I'm so imaginative and so crazy that it's just that I'm so far out in left field, nobody's out there with me, or I'm so far out in left field that I'm on the right track, and whoosh, I'm just giving y'all like the the inside info that I don't have. The definition is emotive. So it's it's strongly attached or intimate, cordial or hearty. So intimate to me is emotive. It means it's love, like warm friends, a warm welcome. And to me, the type of water that would be associated with warm, with intimate waters would be tears. And the reason why I say that is because, one, it's warm temperature wise, because they come out of the body 98.6 degrees for most of us. They're warm tears, and it's also part of the big picture. As I said, it's about history, life, love, meaning, friendship, and the big items in life. And it's interesting in the memoir TTOTC how many stories Forrest writes about tears and about tears stopping. And it's sad that no one cries for these buried soldiers in Vietnam. No one cries anymore because they've forgotten them. He cries when he gets fired. He cries as he's leaving Texas A&M. He cries in a number of different places, or people are crying or not crying. There's tears in one of the quotes, old sayings or whatever that he put in there. And I think for me, the hard part about tears right now is that I can't associate tears with a place on a map per se. At this point, at least I don't have a specific place. I think there is an ability to do that. I just don't have that beginning point where warm water's hot on a map. And so I'll say that would be the big kind of hole in that view of or that definition of warm waters. But I think it's something interesting. I'd love to hear your feedback. What do you think about that? Is that too imaginative? Do you think it complicates things? Do you think it's too simple? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to get some back and forth going with people more publicly or privately. All I've had really is that one meetup in Cary, North Carolina, and that was really fun because I don't really get to talk about my search and kind of my thoughts on the book with many people. So I hope you enjoyed this episode on clue number 1, line number 1 of stanza 2, and we'll look for line number 2 of stanza number 2, which would be clue number 2 next episode. Have a good day.